Greetings. How you doing, community? It's Kevin, Adventure Being Comics. And I got books, man. I ended up getting some signed books. Now, this week's signed books, I went to a couple events. And there were multiple events happening throughout the week. And there is more events happening next week. Didn't be able to attend them all. Life gets in the way of living sometimes. I had to work Wednesday, so I couldn't go to the Ghost Machine event happening not too far from here. There was a multiple turnout for that event. However, I did make mention to the facility that I wouldn't be able to attend, and I asked if they could go ahead and have some books set aside for me. Appreciate you being here, man. So they weren't able to do so. Now, what I did is I ended up arriving over at the shop, said, hey, do you have books? They said, no, we don't have the books signed. However, we do have the books. So I made a deal. I go, look, this is what I'll do is I know he's going to end up coming back. I'll end up make purchase of a few books from you. I'll go get them signed at another place, and then I'll bring them back to you to have Jeff Johns sign it for me if you wouldn't mind. Hey, how you doing, man? I appreciate you being here, legend. And they said, all right, yeah, no, we can do that. Well, it's great seeing you too, buddy. So, how that worked out for my day on Saturday was I knew that Cody Ziggler would be signing at Things from Another World at Universal City Walk in Universal City. This was happening from the time of 2 to 4. Yeah. The signing event happening with Miki was happening at 3 to 6. One event was happening in Burbank. One event was happening in Rancho Cucamonga. Yeah, say that a couple times. It's fun. Which were entirely miles apart. Now, what I ended up doing is I knew I had to have this day planned. So I ended up waking up early, driving to Burbank, getting there as soon as I could, trying to be like one of the first in line. I let people who only had 1 or 2 books go in front of me to where I had an opportunity to not only have a moment to talk with Cody, but to just discuss on one of the things that he wasn't able to discuss before, which was the launch of Deadpool. Now, our time that we had together, I think it was almost 2 months ago, he ended up saying, hey, look, I'm working on this, I'm working on that, but I can't totally tell you what I'm working on. So cool, I'll end up checking it out. So at this event, we get to discuss that, along with having sign more books for me. Then I end up at 4 Color Fantasies. All right, that is a place, like I said, in Rancho Cucamonga, which was over, God, so many miles away. My total round trip ended up being just shy of, I think, 300 miles. So yeah, that was a journey and all day. And so how it worked out is I started at Universal, went from Universal. Actually, the day before I ended up picking up books from my other shop, which were the connecting covers that Miki did, along with Reese. 2 people worked on those covers. From there, I went home. Next, planned all my books, had them all, did all my window boarded stuff. If you ever seen me do my window boards, if you've never seen it before, there is a show in which I show you how I do that. I window boarded all my stuff, put them in my store folios. And then my journey was to go to Universal City. From there, go to Rancho Cucamonga, 4 Color Fantasies. From there, go back to Collector's Paradise in North Hollywood, and then home. So yeah, that was a journey. So let's start it off. These books I end up getting signed by Cody Ziggler. Now they are the Carnage Reigns, issue number 1. Now Cody has a thing with almost hiding his signatures. I did bring pens this time to try to ensure that I can get him to get something a little more defined. But if you look there, that's Cody Ziggler's signature, that little black M with the thing squiggly underneath. All right, so that's one. There's areas in which that are a little more popish, and other areas at which he just refuses to actually almost let you see them. There's another. See what I mean? He chose red on that. And again, I gave him multiple colors: green, blue, gold, silver. But he just tends to get things that tend to almost blend. It's his style. It's his thing. Who am I to complain? I just say thank you. And then there's a crotch one. Crotch Sig. All right, so that was the Carnage books that I had him sign. And then he ended up signing well, I can't believe I overpacked him like this. Oh yeah, this is a cool one. All right, now Jonathan Holtham. He's writing Night Thrasher right now. He also did a contribution to this book, so that the big signature is him. Right now, this little blended signature. Try to, yeah, you can almost see it. See that right there? That's Cody. He put like this red thing, and it's barely visible until you start searching for it. Now, there was no way he was able to hide it on this one. I ended up giving him a blank cover, and I was more of like, I challenge you to try to hide it now. I bordered out everything, and he just kind of looked at it, and then looked at me like, I ain't giving you an option. So, and then here's the Deadpool. And then Spider-Punk. Where did he? Again, he blended it. So it's difficult for anyone to really see. But it's there. I promise it's there. I'm just saying. And then he even told me he's never seen this variant. But that's Cody's signature right there. And he really liked this Miles Morales issue number 3. And then there's an homage, 238. Where did he sign here? Same thing. Right there. I need to I put an order in for some Mylar. So I'm waiting on that. This is the first appearance of, True's first appearance of Rambler is in issue number 2. There's a little cameo, but we don't see who that person turns into until the supervillain shows itself as issue number 2. I like these graffitied ones. They're really cool. And these are actually some of my favorite, the graffiti ones. And then issue number 3. See, and there's Rattler. And those are the ones that I end up having him sign for me. I did have him sign other books in the past. We did have a pretty good discussion, which is also one of the reasons why I wanted to wait in the back of the line. At the first, I should say, wave of people that came in. Thank you. I appreciate you, buddy. So that allowed me, by waiting at the line at the back and allowing everybody that had only a few books initially to go in front of me, the time and the ability to spend with Cody and just talk to him about not only the projects that he's working on with Miles, but now the Deadpool one. And as I asked, which I made it kind of simple, I didn't get too hardcore. How does it feel to be able to write a character as Deadpool? One that which is as dynamic in its own way as Deadpool is. And his reply was, it was a character that kind of first got him in the comics. It was one that he was first introduced when he got into comics, and it was one that he never really thought he would ever be able to write for, let alone be able to pitch a miniseries and be able to not only get it picked up, but be one that is his passion about it as a project, not only as he was, but also Marvel. And it seemed like the reception of it is rather well. So aside from the somewhat popularity of the actual character itself, along with how well he's doing with it and the delivery on this series, for him, it was a literal dream come true. And that was rather interesting, not only to hear, but in some regards, experience. Being able to have him tell it to me, I got to feel the passion behind which that he was telling it, and it was really cool. That's to me the engagement part of doing these signing events is being able to have the privilege to not only have your book signed, but be able to get to the core of some of the things in which that is the passion behind one of the reasons why these individuals do what they do. It's not, for the most part, they really don't make a whole lot of money. So there's more to it than that. So I'd like to get to that. And yeah, it was pretty cool, man. It was really cool. So after going to Universal, paying my $32 just for parking to get in there to get my book signed, and deciding, well, since I'm here, I'm also use the restroom and get me a pretzel dog. Not necessarily in that order. I end up then making my way over to Four Color Fantasies. Now there was, man, that was not only a journey, but it was a journey of a lot of memories. I first met Danny Miki back in 1991, and it was at a comic shop called Jeffrey's Comics. Now at the time, Jeffrey's wasn't, but was like the second. So Jeffrey Comics was just recently closed, and at the time of its closure was the longest running comic shop in LA. Before which I believe it might have been Bob's. However, that being stated, in 91, he got his job over at Jeffrey Comics, which was then moved to Gardena. Now, born in Gardena, Danny Miki, it was a hop, skip, and jump from him. And it was also not only a passion, but it was a privilege to be able to work at a place in which that he knew comic book artists and creators were frequently in and out. It was just a place that people came into. Upon the launch of Youngblood and almost the demands of Jeffrey himself for Danny to go ahead and start doing submissions to Image and others, that he caught the eye of Rob Liefeld. Now, that basically made short history of what ended up transpiring shortly after that, because Danny Miki ended up being considered by many in the industry one of the best ink artists, line artists out there. And definitely one of considered most unsung heroes. If you look back at some of the early works of Rob McFarlane, some of the early interviews with Rob, I said Rob McFarlane, Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld, definitely some of the early interviews with Todd, you'll see him make mention of Danny Miki. And even his most recent, I think it was last year's San Diego Comic-Con, he paid homage to Danny for, his works and some of the earlier stuff of Spawn, and also being there in the early times of the development of Image Comics. Now, being all stated, and I just kind of milked the hell out of that cow, I want to go ahead and show you some of the books that I had Danny do. Now, one of the first things I did is I ended up telling Danny, hey, dude, I used to hang out with you a lot. And he's like, who are you? I told him about how we used to skate and how we used to hang out. And he's like, yeah, no. I mean, I was telling him all the things that we used to do, all the places we used to go. He remembered all of it, but not me. He remembered all the things, all the experiences, and a lot of places that we went to. He remembered the whole line of everything we did. I was telling him all the books that I had. He was not only impressed and not only my memory of the times that we had, but he also felt very guilty that the fact that he couldn't recall any of it with me. I thought that was actually rather funny in many regards. One, obviously, I did not pay a bad form of, how should they say, impression upon myself and to him. So that being stated, I really got to see some fascination on him being able to relive a time that he totally forgot. And for him, he was so busy doing a sketch that I can see the wheels turning in his head, and I can see how he was just going over a lot of the years that he has not heard of in 3 decades. So that being stated, let's go ahead and show you some cool stuff. One of the things I ended up showing him that blew his mind, and he ended up showing his wife who was there, was this stand. This stand was made, and it was done by Danny Miki, and he hasn't seen it since it was done back in '96. I ended up showing that to him, and again, this was one of the things that he was working on with McFarlane in the development of all the toys, all the figures, all the merchandising, all the support that he needed to go ahead and develop all this stuff. He needed others to go ahead and take over on not only the works of his actual books, but some of the conceptual ideas that were going on in that development. So Danny was an integral aspect to it. And in that launch, who came out with was I think it was issue number 55, was this. So he signed that. Now Danny has actually a rather, I think, how should I say, flamboyant type of signature. Very everywhere. It's hard to make out. If you didn't know who was signing it, you had no idea that it was Danny Mickey's signature. So, yeah, I got a Spawn 55, Aria, Heavenly Creatures. This was done in conjunction with John Quesada. I say John. That John was a buddy of mine. Joe Quesada. And so, yeah, there's the signature way at the bottom. I really like this thing, and the art is just wonderful in this book. It's a really neat fantasy book. Also, I had a third print, and Danny worked on all this stuff. Again, all the line work. So I had a third print and a couple of the first prints that I did not have slabs, so I ended up having signed those. At some point, I'm definitely going to have to get one of these things over to Hack. And then I had this 86. This 86B is actually a really fucking bitchin' cover. And then the 86A. Want to re-acknowledge those that decided to hang out with me. Christina, I appreciate you being here. And yeah, well, thank you with the 1-2. We're about to celebrate 5 years. Barbarian, how you doing, man? Happy Sunday to you and yours. Hope you're doing well. And Legend, as always, you the man, you the legend. Not even beyond a myth, you know what I'm saying? And Perry, I appreciate you hanging out with me. And Les Crucis, as always, you number one in my heart. You number one in the chat. All right, maybe Christina's number one in my heart. I'm sorry. All right, you guys can fight over it in the chat. All right, that was the first set of books I ended up getting done. As I made mention, it was such a privilege to hang out with them and then go over a lot of our past, our history. He was so busy, it was difficult to actually try to find a little moment to not only discuss some of the things that I remember as a kid, but to actually just kind of throw books at him to have them done. He did make mention on a frequent occasion of, hey, look, if you just need your books signed, I can do that. And so I took advantage. And some of the things I want to do is bring back some of the history. So one of the first books I ended up showing him was one of the first books he worked on. You know, it was one of the first series, I should say. And you see him way down there. That's his little flashy little signature. So in the beginning, he was doing a lot of stuff with Liefeld. I remember talking to Rat Moon, and Rat Moon was saying, yeah, on the tour bus, on the extreme tour stuff that they were doing, it wasn't infrequent that Rob would just throw a bunch of pencil stuff and then just throw the stuff in the back of the bus, and whoever kind of got it. So there would be times when, you know, Rat Moon was doing stuff and he named a couple books that he ended up doing for me. And he told me one of the books that he did because that's how he got it. And then same thing with Danny. So I know that's how he ended up getting, like, or I think it was this one. When he was working with Liefeld on that one, because that was the same thing. This Rob ended up just sketching this thing out and just tossing it. And Danny goes, okay, yeah, I got it. I'll do this one. What a way to do business back then. they were still figuring things out. It was very infantile in the development. So let's go ahead and do this in an order, which are all backwards. I end up having my the ratios done, and then the issue number 100's done, along with what you saw in the beginning of 86 on up. So this, believe it or not, is a sketch by him. He had no time to do it, so he just threw that together. I asked for a Batman beacon. I go, could you do a bat signal? That's what he did. I thought, okay. When he handed it to me, he even kind of felt embarrassed. I can actually see him tilt his head. I said, dude, I totally get it. I appreciate it. And it's something to remember you by. That's the idea for me. So I had this 100 done. A lot of people worked on these things. And then here we go. I had him do 102. Three. I think it's 4. Yeah. I think this is 6. And we start all over. So those are the ones I end up having Danny sign. Once I end up visiting Cody, hanging out with him, leaving him, visiting Danny, waiting approximately 40 minutes to just have a discussion with him. He signed my books. Hung out for another 20 minutes. Departed, went right to Collector's Paradise. After about another hour and 20-minute journey from there, dumped off 9 books. Those 9 books were 6, maybe 7. That were signed by Danny, which were the connecting covers for the Ghost Machine. So that includes Geiger, Rook, Exodus, and oh my God, my brain went away. Geiger, Rook, what's the other one? Oh, my brain went away. I know it starts with an R, right? Redcoat. Got it. Haha. So those 3 connecting covers were done by Rice, along with Danny doing all the line work. So he signed all those for me. I took them over to Collector's Paradise, and I'm going to supposedly have those things signed by Jeff Johns tomorrow. Then I can go ahead and take those 3 parts, and I'm hoping to get maybe Danny to do me a sketch. I'm hoping to get maybe Redcoat or Rook. He does a great Rook. On all 3 is one full-length picture, stacking them, which makes it even more difficult to do as a picture. I'm hoping to do that at Ontario's Revolution Comic-Con Revolution. Yeah. He was very busy. He takes a lot of time. He does great work when he's given the opportunity to take time with that. And I wouldn't want to rush him. I'd love to be able to hang out with him again. Another time in which that he didn't seem like he would be so busy. I would love to be able to give some stories to his wife. Those two have been together since day one, and I think he would appreciate it. They still get along like their kids too, much as my wife and I do. My wife and I have been together since '92, and remember Danny since back then. My wife Cindy, she wanted to go with us on this journey. I look forward to hopefully, possibly, her being with me on the Comic-Con Revolution, and there maybe it'll jar his memory a little bit. But that's all my books. I end up getting totality as many as shit. I think it was 4 store folios full. I mean, just to round off with the 9 that were over at the shop, I mean, we're looking at probably as many as 30 plus books, probably 35 signed. I am going to another signing event this Wednesday. I'll be hanging out with Tony Fleeks, and to get a lot of local man stuff done. I have a couple of Army of Darkness things I'd like to be able to have done. I'd like to ask for a couple of sketches. I want to bring my shoes and have him do a sketch on them if he wouldn't mind. And yeah, I look forward to getting a few Uncanny Valley books signed there. So I mean, damn, it's been a busy week. It's been awesome. It's a privilege for me not only to be able to attend these things, but to be able to share them with you. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. And for those of you that catch me on the rewind, I appreciate you just taking the time. And if you haven't already, smash that like, subscribe, and I hope to see you soon. That's it for me, Andrew P.